Evening, freaks. I'm here to give you a read straight from the hip with lots of lip and also to dive into the wild side a bit. We're going to have some fun with tonight's read. I really felt like just doing a wild card read, playing it real loose, and not having any specific objective with the read. I feel like we're in a really interesting time right now where everything is in this flux state, and there's so much that's happening, but it's all happening in the ethers. It's all happening in the sort of more subtle layers of reality. It's not so surface level yet, but it's building. And you can feel that. It's like something, I got like almost this visual, like something rising up out of the depths, that's been waiting to emerge. But um, maybe you've had an inkling of it. It's something that you've intuited inside, something, some big change, some big juncture coming up in your life, but you haven't really had necessarily a plan or even in some cases an objective or a particular direction. It's just been this knowing that there's some important turn up ahead on the road. And I feel like this is what's rising up right now. It's rising up in the more subtle layers, though. It's like it's coming in on the airwaves, it's coming in through dreams a lot, dreams and daydreams, those moments when we sort of let our rational brain, take a break for a minute and we open up the subconscious mind for exploration. And that's when we get all these kinds of interesting keys coming through that will help us open those new doors. But it almost like seems silly to me right now to do readings related to like specifics, like what's going on with my love life. It's almost like that is so not the point right now. It's not really what the point is right now. We're at a much more important juncture than that. And I think those of you that are really tapping in, you feel this, this is an important moment. This is an important moment. It's leading to a great transformation for us collectively. We are really having to take a look at ourselves, and look at what we've created as as a society, what we have created, what we are creating in reality. What sides are we choosing? Is there a side? Is there a side? Uh, when we neglect our connection to nature, that's when we find the division, right? That's when we define the division. That's interesting. Define the division, I guess that is defining the division right there. It's when we lose our connection with nature, when we lose connection with the natural world, when we start valuing progress above all else. And I think we're kind of being asked to return to that part of our brain, that can remember our connection to source, our connection to all that is, our connection to nature, and how it's so important, these choices that we're making in our lives up to this point collectively, because this is a collective read, okay? So we're looking at the bigger picture stuff here. It's not about like the job. It's not about, the lover. It's not about the fancy home or, the six-figure income or any of that shit at the end of the day. We're dealing with something much bigger than that. And it's this choice to, you know, go for evolution or regress. And it's interesting because what's coming through right now is that this isn't the first time we've faced this. I mean, you can, Look at this infinite cosmic mess. This isn't the first time we've faced this, right? This isn't the first time that the quest for power, this hunger for control, has taken over humanity and led to destruction, led to that dissolution of the connection between us and nature. It's like, I don't understand how people can not make that connection, that when we disconnect from nature, we're like cutting off a part of ourselves. We're cutting off a part of ourselves. And, we hear this with like stories of Atlantis, how that desire, that hunger for power was the undoing, chaos mom, and it's about getting back in touch with those wild roots within us and understanding that, yes, there is a lot of upheaval and there is a lot of unrest in the world and there's a lot of uncertainty in our own personal lives as well. But chaos is the point of creation. This is the point when anything can happen. We can work with these energies in any way that we wish. Yeah, everything may be up in the air. You don't know where anything's heading, where things are going to land. You just know something's coming, but it's up to you how you choose to receive that energy. It's like everything's just traveling in on the airwaves and you're the receiver, right? So you can choose how you receive that energy. You can spin that into worry and anxiety and fear about your future and doom and gloom, and all of this could go wrong, and looking at more of a myopic view where you're sitting there, worrying about, is this person going to get their karma, or, am I keeping up with the Joneses, and all of this kind of superficial shit that doesn't matter at the end of the day? Or you can return to the source, the WYRD tree, that tree of knowledge, the tree of wisdom, return to your wild roots, return to that wisdom of your ancestors who, by the way, did know the importance of their connection to nature. They didn't lose that. So much of what has caused division and unrest and uncertainty and problems in our society, and has actually, cut off our potency, diminished our power, really. It's funny how in the pursuit of power, humans have actually diminished power. They've become subservient to this quest for power. How do we view power? A lot of times we view it as coming through money, or status, these superficial pursuits. We're being asked to bring these things to an end. We're being asked to lay these things to rest, to transform these behaviors. So that snake, remembering the nourishment of the knowledge that comes from tapping into the roots. There's a lot of transformation on offer right now. And it's not just individually, it's collectively. And that's why the choices we're making right now are so important. They're so important. And it goes beyond just you and your day-to-day life. And it's interesting because I had this dream that inspired this particular drop-in with you all. I had this dream the other night, and it was of a simple scene. There was just this field in front of me, and I could see this movement in the grass, but I couldn't quite detect what it was. And it was like ripples through the grass, all throughout this field in front of me. And then one by one, I started to see what these ripples were as these lizards. These lizards started to come out of the grass, and they were green lizards, okay? I'll explain this in a minute. The color is significant. So these green lizards started coming out of the grass, so many of them, so many lizards, okay? But then they started kind of morphing in that some had like these like almost electric currents to them is the best way that I can describe it. These electric currents, like their auric bodies, you could almost see their energy body, and it was coming in a rainbow of hues, which is why I got this particular light going tonight. And it's just a very interesting dream. It was a very interesting dream, and it really stuck with me. And then I was thinking about lizard medicine. And lizard medicine is all about regeneration, okay? It's about the ability to have even a very part of yourself cut off, right? And to be able to regenerate. To regenerate. You know, lizards can self-amputate. They do it to save themselves. They cut off something to save themselves, right? It helps save their hides, man. If they're getting attacked, if there's something that's got them in their jaws and won't let go, you know, they can just simply let go of that part and just move right on, and they can grow it back, right? You know, they know that there's no point in hanging in there. They know there's no point in hanging in there and waiting it out to see how things are going to turn out. When they know something's got them in their clutches and their feet are to the fire, or rather their head first in the fire, they say, all right, I'll just simply let that part of me go. I let that part of me go, and then I can get out of this just free. You don't need to tell me. I'm not going to be caught with my pants down. You know? And this is an interesting aspect, this ability to regenerate, this ability to cut off and at the same time regenerate. And it really just brought to mind to me this whole energy of this eclipse season and this big wrap up we're having with this. It is the last eclipse that we just moved through for this year, and it was closing up a year cycle. And it's been a wild year. There's been so much growth. There's been so much happening, right? There's been so much happening. Just planetarily, there's been so much happening, but also in the world, there's been a lot happening. There's been a lot to integrate. There's also been a lot happening in our personal lives, because whatever's happening on the grander scale is also happening within the microcosm of our personal lives. It's all a reflection of one another. It's all the same energy, right? So what I really got from this dream is that there is this offer for regeneration that's really coming in, especially with that Sagittarius new moon that will be a stellium Sagittarius new moon coming in on the 23rd of this month. There's such an opportunity for regeneration. And I mean, I can't help with the title of this read, right? I can't help but think of the Lizard King himself, Mr. Jim Morrison, He says there's a way to break on through to the other side, man. But there's also this need to understand that if you don't cut off certain things, you're not going to make it to that other side. So this is really about being able to understand that we have a choice. It's like, yeah, this expansion is on offer. These opportunities are on offer. This chance to transform our lives and have new beginnings and really work with that Sagittarius energy to step into that expansion. It's all there and it's all available. Okay. But there's no celebration until you respect what has come to pass, like what needs to be brought to an end, right? With this birthday corpse here. Some things need to be cut off. Some things need to be closed out. And that's where the celebration is. That's what brings the reward. That's what brings the sweetness. Okay. But it's hard, right? It's hard to really acknowledge that when you're going through it, especially if you have a lot of resistance to letting something go, or maybe cutting off a certain behavior, because in cutting off that behavior, it means you have to acknowledge ways that you're responsible for some of the upheaval, the unrest in your life. It's not always easy to look at aspects of ourselves that don't serve our best interests and that are potentially making our lives more complicated than they need to be. But these are the things that we're being asked to look at. And in having the courage to cut these things off, then we can regenerate, And that's the thing, when the lizard like releases its tail, when the when the when the lizard's been caught by something, by the tail, and it decides, okay, I'm just gonna let this tail go. I'm gonna let this tail go so I can live to eat another day, man, with the skeleton eating a banana. Like, okay, you can have my tail. I can let that tail go. You can have that. I'm going to live to eat another day, and I'm going to find something a little more nourishing. I want that birthday cake. I want to celebrate my new beginning, my new life, my new way forward. When the tail grows back, it doesn't grow back the same. It grows back often a different color. And this is what's interesting. I said the green was significant. With the let's say turtle. That's interesting. Maybe turtle medicine is wanting to come in a bit too. That's that Mother Earth medicine, like I was talking about, reconnecting with nature. Turtles are all about Mother Earth. They're about connecting with the natural world. That's where the source of connection and power is, Yeah, and a lot of us out here, we're very much in this survival mode. We got shark, trombone, and free sandwiches, We're just doing what we have to do, to make ends meet, to get the food in our bellies. A lot of people are really worried about their survival right now, They are. They're worried about their survival. They're worried about the practical things. And it's interesting because it's almost like, well, the key to that survival, the key to go beyond, this place of feeling so much limitation and stuck and lack and nothing manifesting, absolutely has nothing to do with doing things in the typical standard way, or actually even being focused on the survival at all. It's about being focused on the thrival. It's like a revival, but where we thrive, where we focus on what does that mean? What would it mean to regenerate? What would that look like for me? If I were to regenerate, what would my life look like? How would I feel emotionally? What kind of people would I be hanging around? What kind of things would I be doing? What would my day to day look like? How would my body feel? This is like acknowledging, having a good look at yourself, being in that belly of the beast, and looking at the places in your life where maybe you do feel like you're really stuck, and you don't like how your story is playing out, and you do feel like you're not getting where you want to go, or you don't have what you want to have, and you're always in this survival mode, but it's never quite living up to what you hoped it would be. There's a lot of people that are working through a lot of multi-layered feelings right now. And a lot of it has to do with that, a lot of it has to do with value, value, and this absolutely plays out on a practical level, just in terms of like where they're at financially, what do they have materially, you know, do they have those things that quote unquote equate with success? But it's like with this lizard medicine coming in, it's also about being able to dream more, like entering into dream time, like lizard medicine rules over dream time. And green lizards specifically mean that you're on the right track and that you're actually heading toward a place of regeneration. You're heading toward a place where you can really transform your reality, but it requires you to be a bit more creative, you know. And that's why I think this aspect came in about the energy body around these lizards. It was almost like saying, it doesn't have to be stuck. It doesn't have to be static. What your future looks like doesn't have to be like what you told yourself it had to be, or any of these ideas that were put on you about what success is, or what happiness is, or what a good relationship is, or any of this shit. It's about what is really feeding you on a soul level. What is feeding you on a soul level? And what is that energetic match that when you link up with that thing or that person or that place or this particular choice, makes you feel like, yeah, like this is it. And we all know that feeling, right? When it hits, we all know that feeling when it hits, and we all know when it's missed. So, you know, this is the thing right now, is it's like you can get stuck in the minutia of trying to iron out the details of your day-to-day reality. But I'll tell you right now, it's not going to do you a bit of good, because everything is happening energetically right now. Everything is happening on an intangible level right now. So, you know, chances are you trying to, you know, make any major changes right now on a practical level it's kind of like an exercise in futility, because it's all in flux. So it's more like we're being really encouraged to step into this space of dreaming and exploration and being willing to do things in a new way. You know, a lot of you are holding on, you know, you're holding on to old pain. You're holding on to your desire to see people get their karma, or to see the scales of justice balanced. And, you know, you don't understand the way that this actually keeps you really stuck. It keeps you stuck in the mess. You know, there's that infinite cosmic mess again. It keeps you stuck in the mess when you're hoarding all these swords, when you're holding on to them and you're so stubbornly refusing to let any of them go. It's like, no, I'm going to remember every single thing that happened that hurt me. I'm never going to get beyond it. I mean, really, you know, who you hurting there? Who you hurting there? I mean, this might make you feel safe, right? This might make you feel safe to live your life like this, to be on guard. Safe from what? Safe from yourself? I mean, you're the one who is hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself, holding on to all this pain and isolating yourself. By holding on to this thing, you know, whatever it is, whether it's like your standpoint, your view, your position in a situation, a relationship, an old identity, you know, for each of you, it's going to be different. It has everything to do with your values, though. It has everything to do with your values, with your sense of worth, with your self-worth, with how you value other people. Remember, we are supposed to be moving into that Taurus North Node energy. And yeah, it is about finances. It is about that illusory security, okay? Illusory security that money provides. We all know it's illusory. Don't say we don't know that money is also an illusion. It absolutely fucking is. It's an illusion. Did we not learn that over the past few years here? Think about what's happened with the money over the past few years. It's just this idea of exchange, but there's lots of ways to exchange energy. And there's lots of ways to build an economy as well. And it's more of an energetic economy at this point, you know? We don't need to keep, you know, cutting away pieces of ourselves, you know? The nip slip poke. Staying devoted, you know, to these old ideals of how things can work in terms of our financial survival or whatever that looks like. You know, does it even need to involve money? What if we started thinking of things more creatively? What if we started thinking in terms of skill sharing? What if we started thinking in terms of bartering and trading and, you know, creating different ways of exchanging energy that leads to prosperity, where somebody can actually bring forward their gifts, their talents, their abilities, and see the benefit of this? Why do we keep nursing this old, tired way that we've viewed as progress, as moving forward, when really it just has us kind of waddling into the future? And, you know, we don't have enough spoons. We don't have enough spoons to keep this thing going. We don't. We need to start looking at things in a new way. You know, there's something, I feel like a lot of this is coming up for people in terms of their career directions, where they want to head in their careers. And yeah, I do feel like there is some aspect that's coming up in relationships too right now. But I think a bigger piece of this is about our ability to bring forward our gifts, our contributions, and create. There's been this big piece coming forward about the necessity for people to dive into their creativity more, that this creativity is the source of abundance. And when I say abundance, I'm not talking like financially necessarily, although that is there too. You know, it is about innovation. It is about, you know, looking at things in a new way. It's about doing things differently than we've done, because we know by now what doesn't work. So we can't keep flogging a dead horse. It's not going to get it to giddy up. It just doesn't work like that. So it's sort of like people are wanting to step into this new like reality. They're wanting to do the timeline hop, but they're still devoted to the old way of doing things. They're still devoted to sort of the formulaic way of progress, which there is no formula for progress when it comes to the timeline hop. It's all about moving into that space of creativity. And creativity is chaos. It is. And it's about changing your relationship to this idea of chaos. Chaos is not like necessarily this negative thing. It takes chaos to birth a star, you know? It takes chaos to birth a star. You wouldn't be here if it weren't for chaos, all right? None of us would. So chaos is just the point when, you know, it's like you're playing a game of musical chairs and the music's playing and it's playing Our Friends Electric by Gary Newman and everybody is dancing around the chairs and We just don't know when the music's about to stop and you've got to take your seat, or if you'll even have a seat. And what if you don't have a seat? What are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? Maybe you can find a place where you do have a seat. You know, some of you need to get up. You need to get up. Look, we need to turn around this robot riding a gorilla energy. Look, it's in reverse. We need to turn this energy around, okay? We need to turn this energy around. It's not about staying in these old kind of like stuck, outdated ways of thinking. And ironically, it's like in order to get back to that space of really being able to tap into the creative mind and come up with our solutions for moving forward, we have to be able to go back to the roots. So it's at the same time, it's like this irony. You're like ditching the old paradigm, but you're returning to the old as far as like going back to the roots, getting back in touch with the earth, which is the creative force of nature. Look at nature. Nature is in a constant state of flux. It's in a constant state of evolution. And humans sometimes can be the most unnatural part of nature because we so often resist change. We have such a hard time with it. We have such a hard time letting go. We have such a hard time cutting things off. We're like creatures of habit. We get stuck, but that's the problem because it's so unnatural. It's almost like humans have become part of the algorithm. Like we are the algorithm at this point, and it's becoming almost like a hindrance to the true creative potential coming through. And we're being asked to knock these old ways of viewing our reality, viewing how our lives need to unfold, what an ideal relationship looks like, or what success is, or what is what is desirable. What is desirable? That's an interesting thing to come forward. Desire, I think your desires are changing. I think a lot of you did achieve a certain level of success, in things that you were pursuing. And it was sort of like the proverbial wooden nickel, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And you're realizing that I can't go forward like this. And you're wanting to know the next way forward, and you're wanting to have a sign come in, and the signs are there. They're all around you, but you're not going to find them in the tangible right now because you're being asked to dream these things into being. You're being asked to get more into that creative brain space, where you can get out of your own way, where you're not looking through the lens of what you've been told to do or what is the right way to go about doing something. Again, and you're being asked to discover your creativity, and how is your creativity wanting to be expressed in the world, because we've gotten too much into this almost like linear rational programming where we're being asked to shake this up a little bit, and it's through shaking this up a little bit that we find that regeneration. Parasitic fruit, it makes me think of temptation, right? Like so many people have these dreams. They think if I can just achieve this, then I'm going to be happy. If I can only have things work out with this person, then everything in my life is going to be wonderful. If I can only be 25 pounds, less, then I'm going to be totally content with who I am. If I could just have this much money in the bank, then that means I've made it. And in the meantime, it's like this download is taking over their systems and their reality. And look, it's just draining all of their creative potential, feeding off of it like a parasite. temptation. It makes me think of that card that's in the Halloween deck here. Maybe this is a good time to bring this out. It makes me think of this particular card in this Halloween oracle here. It's called Risk and Reward. It's like some things are tempting, but just because an apple is shiny on the outside, you can bite into it and you can find it full of worms, right? You can't get caught up in surface appearances. You got to be aware of temptation and understand what is tempting you. And if you're not feeling so readily willing and able to take action in that direction, and you keep going back and forth in your head about it, like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? As soon as you're in that place where you're like going back and forth, that should be your cue. Like, something ain't right here. That's when you need to make contact with nature, right? That's when you need to observe nature. That's when you need to remember your connection with nature. That's when you need to get back to tapping the roots. Nature doesn't struggle with anything. Nature does not struggle with anything. Everything in nature is effortless. Think of a waterfall. It just falls over the ledge. That water just falls effortlessly with such grace over the ledge. It doesn't resist it. It doesn't fight it. Trees let go of their leaves at autumn so willingly, so ready for that release. There's no trying to cling to the last leaves, When the tide is high, it doesn't try to pull itself back and recede. Like, when it's time for the moon to rise, you don't see the sun arguing about having to go down. Nothing in nature operates like that. The problem is that people are living their lives according to algorithms. They're living their lives according to these media generated images that they've been told, this is what a happy life looks like. This is what it means to be a successful person. This is what it means to be in a good relationship. This is what it means to have arrived. And it's all based on programming. You've been programmed. You've been programmed. And it's sort of like, right now we're being asked to do a hard reboot, man, and get rid of the corrupted files. It's time to cut off that supply that's actually blocking the creative potential that wants to come through each of us now. You hear a lot of people talking about how this is a very transformational time. And I'm sure that sounds woo-woo to some people, but I mean, you'd have to be kind of sleepwalking through life if you didn't recognize that we're at a really transformational juncture in our reality. Just with everything that's going on in the world, there is so much that is shifting and changing right now. But what is so often forgotten is we've gotten so fixated on the programming that the majority of people view the parameters of their reality as defined by outside authorities. And they don't have the ability to really tap into the true authority, which is all inside. And in order to get in touch with that true authority, that defines your reality, which is the collective conscious. You have to be able to be open and receptive and stop trying to grasp for that meaning outside of yourself and instead find it within. I really feel like when we're being asked to cut off is the old programming. And it's sort of like really the death of an old way. And acknowledging for ourselves that, yeah, you know, nothing is ever going to be the same. And how I move forward is going to be unlike anything I've ever done before. And I can choose to stay stuck in my old reality. I can continue to repeat these same old cycles that I've been through over and over and over again. Or I can stop, you know, kidding myself, stop buying into some illusion that I'm somehow here bound to suffer by continually going over the same old ground over and over again, finding myself in the same kind of relationships over and over again, doing all the same shit I've always done and bitching about it. Or I can recognize that it's as simple as making the choice to cut it off. Just cut it off. Don't worry. It'll grow back. It'll grow back in a new way. But the thing is it's like we don't have to be in such a precarious position collectively. That's the thing. When we move into more of a unity consciousness, when we realize that it's not about worrying about what anybody else is doing, whether anybody else is going to get their karma for what they did to you, any of this shit. So much of the shit that I see everybody is focused on right now. I mean, I see it because it's all the readings that are out there. It seems like so many of them are focused on this, like what karma this person's getting. Why do you care? What does it matter? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. All you need to do is focus on what you're here to do. And if each of us just took that up and was like, okay, what do I need to do? What's in alignment with my energy? Do I know what's in alignment with my energy? And if we cut off what was draining us, if we cut off what was keeping us in this place of being stuck in these places where we do give a shit about somebody else's karma, I mean, you already know you're missing the boat if you're in that mind frame. You're not moving from an empowered place if you're worried about what somebody else's karma is. You're not. You're very disempowered, actually. It's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you holding on to those swords. It's keeping you holding on to the pain. Instead, use those swords to just cut it off. Cut off the supply and put that energy into really discovering, what are you being asked to do at this time? How are you being asked to transform? Don't make it about anybody else. How are you being asked to transform? Because that desire to like see somebody else get their just desserts or to get even or any of this shit, that is a form of control with zombie. This keeps you stuck in the old reality. And I'll tell you, if it ain't with that person or that job or that situation, it will be with another over and over and over and over again until you get it, that as long as you continue to try to have control over things like this and you don't allow yourself to simply be the receiver, to tune into that one energy that connects us all and get in touch with what it's asking you to do, what it's asking you to bring forward, how it's asking you to transform, you're gonna stay stuck. You'll be like a zombie moving through this life. You'll never really feel satisfied. You'll never truly be successful. You'll never truly know happiness. No matter how much money you have in your bank account, no matter how many lovers you have, or how many, how many subscribers you have on YouTube, or whatever it may be. None of it is going to matter. None of it is going to matter until you can get to that place where you understand that happiness really is an inside job. And you do have an important purpose. Your life does have meaning. And you get to contribute to what we're creating here collectively. But you can only hold your peace. It's not about micromanaging what everybody else is going to do. Okay? That's a way to deflect yourself from your own work and what you need to do. And when I say you, I'm speaking to me too, because it's all interconnected. We're all moving through this together. There's no difference. There is no separation, right? But we're all these little egos, right? We're all these little egos. We're all these little, it's like we're wearing costumes. We're all these little identities of that one great big energy playing out in life. And it's up to us what we choose. Now, if we all got on the same page and we're like, okay, I'm going to focus on my life. I'm not going to worry about what so-and-so's doing. Okay, so-and-so wants to go. They don't want to be part of my life anymore. Okay, I'm going to let them go. I'm going to trust this. I'm going to trust this space that's going to be created. I'm not going to fight this anymore. Oh, this person doesn't love me. Okay, well, what can you do? What can you do? You simply, okay. When you can move from this place of just allowing, when you don't get hung up, when you don't feel like people owe you anything, or that life even owes you anything, and that instead you take the empowering but risky position of, no, life is what I make it. Life is what I make it. No matter what I have, no matter where I'm at, even if it's really rough right now. Life is what I make it. And that means, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with that energy? And yeah, there's a lot of injustice in the world. There's a lot of horrible things that happen in the world every single day. But you getting yourself to a place where you are healed, you getting yourself to a place where you are whole, you getting yourself to a place where you are tapped into that unity consciousness, where you can be more broad in your perspective, where you are not in this like myopic place of, hyper analyzing what everybody else is doing. And instead, you've moved into that flow of that universal energy that works through all things. And you are in harmony with it. And because you're in harmony with it, you can create from a place of empowerment. That is what sparks amazing change in the world. And we can all dream it into being. But there's definitely this piece, right? Look at this. Huh. Skull of flowers, creating through the ashes. See, people often miss this piece of death, about the things that need to be cut off, about the things that need to be let go. People miss this aspect, is that death is just a transformation. It's just a transformation. We know that after death, there will be rebirth. We know that. How do we know that? We see that. We see that in nature. It's all around us. Just because the trees are barren in the winter, does it mean they're never going to be full of greenery again? Absolutely not. We know that. In fact, it's already a reality, even though we can't see it yet. We know that it will be. And it's because we all know that it is. You see what I mean? It's like, who makes the grass grow green? Who makes the grass grow green? Who is the master who makes the grass grow green? You know, think about that. Think about that a little bit. You know, you have a lot of protection with this jack-o'-lantern here. And also a guiding light to lead you forward. But the light is not going to be found outside of yourself right now. It's all going to be found internally. And you do have the strength, okay? You do have the strength to cut off what you need to cut off and to go your own way and to do things differently. And maybe you are considering making some moves that feel a little risky to you. Maybe they do feel like, I don't know what's going to happen, but yet you feel very aligned with this choice. You know, some of you are on the precipice of these kind of changes where you're being encouraged, you're being intuitively guided to make certain changes in your life. And you don't know what's on the other side. And it's sort of like that's the medicine right now. That's the juju. That's where the transformation happens. That's where the regeneration happens. It happens in that moment that you trust where the energy is pulling you, that you get out of your fears around it, and that you just respect where the current is pulling you and you go willingly. You don't fight it. You behave as nature. You relax. You let go. You know, you wait until you feel it in your bones. Some of you are dealing with a lot of joint issues. Some of you are dealing with a lot of joint issues, in particular knees, like you're having problems with your knees. It's all about you have a fear of moving forward. You're stuck. Notice when you're feeling stiff. You're feeling stiff in your actual skeletal system. Like that should be a clue to you that you are getting too stuck. You're getting stuck in the old ways, and that you need to remember that the spine actually has fluidity. It has fluidity, you know, work with that energy a bit, you know, move the spine around, encourage more freedom and movement in that spine to awaken that knowledge within. You know, some of you would really benefit from getting into doing some yoga or doing some dancing that involves a lot of like undulations, you know, that kind of serpentine type of movement. Belly dance is wonderful for that, or even just putting on music and just really allowing yourself to explore spinal expansion through that kind of time to just freely move without it having to look a certain way. It's all about really getting into the creative brain right now, right? Really getting into the creative brain right now. And I'm sure you're going to be feeling a lot of shifts happening energetically. I'm sure a lot of you are starting to have a lot opening up for you as far as consciousness expanding. You know, your dreams are probably really vivid right now. You're probably getting a lot of intuitive hunches. You know, the best thing you can do at this time is not to just sort of like, oh, you know, that doesn't mean anything. That was just a dream, or yeah, but I'm not seeing any proof of that, so it's not legitimate. No, you're actually being really encouraged to go through that doorway where there is that fluidity, where, yeah, maybe it's not tangible yet, but you felt the power of it. You felt the energetic pull of it. Sink more into that exploratory area right now, because everything you need is coming in through that doorway at this time. I want to do one final cut of the deck energy here. Spider. Community and web weaving. Isn't that interesting? This is talking all about the programming, right? The World Wide Web. That's like the technological web. And we absolutely can remember the wisdom of nature as we do this web weaving on the World Wide Web, right? Think of what we could create together if we all combined our energy and we use the World Wide Web in a conscious way. If we worked with this connectivity to build networks of dreamers, of creative people who want to bring forward their own unique expression into the world for the sake of transformation, not only of their lives, but of this World Wide Web. All right, so this is the piece really coming in right now. Spider medicine is all about networking. It's about creativity. It's about understanding that ripple effect that, you pluck one little thread of that spider's web and the whole web reverberates. It's the same thing with you and everybody, okay? So this is why we can't worry about what's going on with so-and-so, or are they going to ever learn their lesson, or are they going to get their car? We can't worry about this, okay? Because we're all connected to the same web, like it or not, all right? So do you want to continue to contribute that energy to that web of creation? Because you're just feeding more of the same. Let's work with this energy more creatively and start getting in touch with what that looks like for you. How are you being asked to create now? What are you being asked to bring forward? How are you being asked to transform your life? What is it that you need to cut off so you can bring about regeneration? Can build a new web, right? Build a new web. Sometimes you got to clear out the cobwebs. You got to start anew. And that's where we're at right now. So before you begin to weave those first threads of this web, be very mindful of the place that you're creating.